Assalamualaikum, salam sejahtera. I'm Syamsan Johari and this is Agenda Awani. Well, Arakan, state of Arakan in Myanmar, there have been another heightened tension between the Buddhists and the Rohingya Muslims. Well, this is not new, but what's new is the current tension is happening now, even now, during the presidency, during the rule of the new government, democratic government. So a lot of people are questioning, why is this still happening? So here with me now is Mr. Muhammad Noor. He's the MD of Rohingya Vision TV. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much.
So what people expect when the change of government in Rohingya, when there's no military, when there's the end of military government and the start of civilian government led by Aung San Suu Kyi, things would be better for everyone in Myanmar. Well, that's not the case.
Yes, thank you very much for inviting me here. If we quickly look into what is the agenda of the Burmanization agenda, because only since from the beginning of the military until today, until the Aung San Suu Kyi, she is also part of the Burmanization program. Means to say, getting rid of all the non-Burmans or assimilating them into. So Arakan became the part of Burma from 1788, after before the British colonization. So from since until today, there has been program going on to eliminate all the Rohingya Muslims as well, especially Rohingyas, and including other Muslims, to drive them out from there. So after they have started this program from the military until today, it has been carrying on. And Aung San Suu Kyi is silent in this case. So when we is silent, so it is clearly indicates that she is part of this Burmanization program.
We just don't understand. We believe that what's happening in Arakan is true, even though the government in fact, the spokesperson of the president said that the Rohingya are the one who actually burned their home houses and places of worship, the mosque, to gain global attention, hence donation and funds. Well, even though they're saying that, I'm just saying to be fair. I mean, so that it could get stories from both parties. But why is she silent in such a way that people are questioning her status as a Nobel Prize winner?
So again, we come back to the same, because Burmese government is keep lying to all the medias that the Rohingya are the one who is burning their own houses, burning their own mosques to get the global attention. In fact, because Burmese government has totally control this area, which is Arakan, the strip of Arakan. There is no international investigation going on. There is no international media. There is no access to any other sort of communication, so that to prove the allegation. If we look into just the statistics since last year only, I have some very quick statistic here, which shows that there are more than 341 people killed in Arakan state. 341, not only since 9 October for the last year of 2016, and more than 1,322 people been arrested, either they've been eliminated or they have been killed, and nobody knows about them. And there are cases of 205 rape cases, and the list goes on. The properties damaged, and the villages burned, and the raids going on, money extortion. It is happening right in front of her eyes. She is not even indicating to any media that Rohingya is a part of this part of Burma. So again, to tell why she's been silenced, because she has the majority of Buddhist vote. She do not want to jeopardize that, number one. Secondly, she's also part of the Burmanization program, that they want to Burmanize the entire Burma, including Rohingya, which they cannot. That's why they've been eliminating and get rid of the Rohingyas.
Let's go back to the history. Arakan was a government.
Yes.
Many years ago.
Yes.
It was a kingdom.
Yes.
And the British came and there's a different story altogether.
Yes.
Maybe can we go briefly?
Yeah, just go very quickly. 1788. 1788, so about 1,300 years ago, the Islam came to Arakan. But the Rohingya were already there. They used to practice different faiths. So Rohingya became Muslim during 1788. Later on in 950, the Burmans, the Mongolite people came into Arakan. And 1784, the Burmese invasion called the Budapest, who came into Burma and invaded. And Arakan became a state of Burma. So a nation became a minority into Burma because Arakan itself is a kingdom ruled by Muslims for the last 300 years. So when Arakan became assimilated into Burma, the Rohingya became from a nation, became a minority of a country. Then they have been taken away minority rights. And then if I go quickly through, British invaded 1824. And then later on in 1938, there is a huge exodus. Many people has ran away because of the Burmanization program. They want to Burmanize the Rohingya people. During 1942, the largest massacre, the largest genocide that started on Rohingya is 1942.
1942, and that was the first recorded massacre
during the British time. Because Burma got independent from British in 1948 and 49, later after 6 to 7 years. So during the British time, they have been prosecuting this. So if I just make it into a short, how this Burmanization program is working, during the British census, Arakan Muslim, who are the Rohingya, they were the 2/3 population of Arakan, the majority of Arakan. Today, if you look into 2016 census, we are not even 15% of the entire population of Arakan. So the genocide has been so systematized that for the last 70 years, they have reduced the population, they have reduced the education level, they have reduced people into poverty. We do not have any professionals, we do not have any doctors, and we are at the edge of genocide.
All right, we will talk about the short-term and long-term solutions, but we have to take our first short break, and we'll come back and talk about that. Welcome back to Agenda Awani. I'm Shamsan Johari, and we're still with Mr. Muhammad Noor. He's the MD, Managing Director of Rohingya Vision TV. Oh, let's talk about Rohingya Vision TV. It's everywhere. I mean, you've told me you have offices in 5 countries, and just now we used visual from. We've got visual from your organization. Thank you very much. I mean, it is very important now in the age of telecommunication, in the age of the internet, where and it is very different from maybe 20 years ago, where you can share stories from Arakan. What is your plan? How do we get people to tell the stories? Because reporters are not allowed to be in Arakan. Foreign reporters are not allowed in Arakan, for sure. How are we going to get more stories from Arakan? And your role in doing that, of course.
Our vision, which is a Rohingya vision in a long form, is first media in the history of Rohingya that is brought is a television broadcasting of a Nilesat, telling the story and getting the information from out of Arakan, breaking that barrier of the Burmese government that is stopping all the aids, is stopping all the media to go in, so that the rest of the world people will know about it. I might not allow, because we are on television, there are some photographs that maybe you can have a look at it later on.
Yeah.
These are some of the images that they've been telling lie, that people are burned to ashes, people are being killed and murdered, and then homes are being destroyed, properties are being looted, and then women are being raped. And Burmese government until today telling all the lies, all continuously telling lies to the world that we have not killed anybody, we have not burned anybody. So our vision is breaking that barrier, getting all these footages, getting all these images, and telling to the world that, look how important this issue is and how serious this issue is. So if we come back to our vision currently broadcasting in 4 languages. One is in Rohingya, Arabic, and then Burmese and English. To educate and to communicate and to break all these barriers and tell the other side of the story. For the last 70 decades, how much of lie, not only telling to the world, even telling to the Burmans themselves, the civilian themselves. That's why they have managed for the last 70 years, they have managed to penetrate not only the international community, not only convince international community, but also convince the Burmese community, which is 55 million population, telling lie continuously for the last 70 decades. Today, even the Burmese people think that the Rohingya is not an ethnic race of Burma. Why? Because they have been erased from the textbooks, from the syllabus, and all those things. So for the last 4 years now, since our vision has given birth, we now have broken all this, and many Burmans, there are many good Burmese citizens who are advocating for us, who are telling that the Burmese government all this while been telling lie. And there are some other people from Burma, from different religion and different faith and different other races, now opening up and hearing to this story. So our vision so far has really managed to break all these barriers and tell the
What are your challenges?
Our challenges are a lot. Number one, the getting information out. If any one of our reporter in Burma has been arrested, if they have been found in their mobiles, our logos, our information, so he either been going to be killed or arrested or a life sentence.
Oh, life sentence.
Life sentences.
By spreading stories.
Yes, just by contacting our vision.
Okay.
We have many evidence of our people that have been arrested and life sentenced. They're telling that we were
talking about public getting their stories across to a media organization.
Yeah, to media organization, especially to our vision, because our vision is the first dedicated Rohingya media that is telling the story. During 9th October, just last month, our website has been attacked by the government, and our website has been attacked by all these hacker organization that is pro-government. We have got all this information through our servers in US. So they have given us a compiled report how they are using, what are the technologies they are using, like boot technique, SQL injection, all those many sorts of name. Just because it is very costly for them if the world knows the truth, especially the ASEAN countries. Because ASEAN country, look at, for example, like Malaysia, being a very diverse country with multiracial and multi-ethnic, Burma becomes a lot of people think that Rohingya is a threat to the ASEAN. Actually, Rohingya is not a threat to ASEAN. Burmese government is a threat to ASEAN because they are destabilizing the region. They are killing Muslims. There are many other Muslims lives in Malaysia, in Indonesia. They're instigating them. Not only that, and keep telling to the surrounding people that this is our internal matter. This is our internal affair. Do not interfere in our internal matter. How can be an internal matter when more than 150,000 people lives in Malaysia and more than 5,000 to 6,000 living in refugee camps in Indonesia, and many people lives in Thailand, and 50,000 are in refugee camp in India. This is a regional crisis. It's still Burmese government is telling to the world a lie, continuous lie, that it is our internal issue. It might instigate the rest of the region. It might lead to a regional instability between Muslims and the Buddhists and the other. So many, especially the governments of ASEAN, must take a serious action before it gets too late. Because when there is an oppression going on to a minority, we are one of the world's most persecuted minority. So not speaking out, you are actually siding the oppressor automatically. It's a regime. The truth is there. The evidence is there. Everything is there. All you need to do is now act against it to stop this. Otherwise, they're going to destroy this nation totally.
All right, we have to take another short break. And when we come back, we'll talk about long-term solution. I mean, short-term solution is about try to get the story across and tell more people about it. But I'm thinking about, we'll talk about when we come back about the education, how to prepare the Rohingyas, the young Rohingyas, for the future and maybe fight for their freedom. Come back soon. Welcome back to Agenda Awani. We're still with Mr. Muhammad Noor. He's the Managing Director of Rohingya Vision TV. And we shared how, the Rohingyas themselves in Arakan and elsewhere can participate in telling the stories and getting their stories across. And one important thing is because the access to technology that allows that. Number two is the education, because they're aware now that only through telling the stories they can get their message across. Now, in places like maybe in Malaysia, for instance, the Rohingyas are not granted with refugee status. So when we talk about education, and it's quite difficult, because there is no legal status for Rohingyas in Malaysia. And how are we going to help in terms of education, giving enough education for the young Rohingyas for them to be independent and to survive, and then later to fight for their freedom.
Yes, it's a part of the long-term solution because, as we all know, that matter of Rohingya is being spread globally. So Malaysia can give an example to the world or the rest of the community around surrounding area, that there are more than 150,000 refugees who will be living in Malaysia because of the Malaysia is not a signatory to the UN Convention on the Human Rights and all this. So it is not legally recognized. But Malaysia, being very kind in many ways, letting them allow to live in this country for many years and allowing them to some sort of work and all this. But comes to what you said is that helping them and legalizing them are two different cases, because legalizing them can be converted into a workforce, number one, and their children can be educated so that they are the case owner. They are the first who need to work on this case rather than any other race. So to do that, many steps can be taken by the government and by the NGOs. One is that through using UN agency, like UNHCR and all this, and or maybe a separate body that register and then put them into a legal framework that later on, down the line, maybe 10 years or 15 years, these people, their children can get education and health care and transport access to other facilities like medical and all those things.
But those are only through UNHCR.
Currently, it is done through UNHCR, but it is not catered properly. It is not systematized. There is no proper regulation or from the motive from the government.
I mean, Rohingyas are a community, brilliant community. We have professors in Europe. You have businessmen. It's just that the Rohingyas aren't allowed with access to education, good education. If this is happening, if you can be given access to good education, you can pretty much change the world, man.
Yes.
So I mean, we have to make it, a serious effort in allowing the Rohingyas and the diaspora's Rohingyas, the Rohingyas diaspora, the access to education, access to workforce.
Of course, there are many countries taking initiative, like Saudi Arabia and some part of other Arabian countries. But as a Muslim Ummah, when we talk about Muslim Ummah, we have Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and United Arab Emirates, Malaysia, and then Indonesia, and all these large nations. has the capacity and initiative. Let's say if I put it into some figures, if Malaysia gives about 100 scholarship to Rohingya students, it could be one of the solution. To some of the local universities, there are more than a few hundred universities in Malaysia. If each university just pledge one scholarship to the Rohingya community, deserving community, there are 100. If Turkey does that, if Indonesia does that, if Saudi Arabia does that, down the line, within just 10 years, we will have maybe 200 thousands of graduates going to come. These people going to carry down. So there are many solutions if the government come along with us together on this. It can happen.
We have 1 minute left now. Coming back to Vision TV, the Our Vision TV. Is there any particular plan within this couple of months since in the height of detention in Arakan? Do you have any, special coverage? How are we gonna follow your coverage?
Yes. Our Vision is a dedicated media, as I told earlier, is a dedicated media on the Rohingya case. But not only we follow Rohingya case, but we also follow the other part of the Ummah, which is like Palestine and Syria and Iraq and many other part of like Kashmir and other part of the Muslim world as well. Because as being part of the Ummah, we need to be caring for all of us. But also, Rohingya is being one of the most persecuted. We also urge, this is one of the organizations that is bringing out the information from there. So helping our vision itself, like in terms of logistics, in terms of finance, in terms of all other setting that can maximize and grow this organization. It is also equally helping the Rohingyas in motivating them, in educating them, in all those areas.
But what is very obvious now is that we are also, and I mean, our organization Astro Awani is also getting help from actually Rohingya Vision to get access to information, visual, because visual is very important. Without visual, people will say you're lying.
You're lying, yes.
So, thank you very much for the access to information that you've given us, granted us, and inshallah we can work closely together in the future.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Muhammad Noor, the managing director of Rohingya Vision TV. We talk about the atrocities that being impacted towards Rohingya in Arakan and how we can help them. And you might have your own comments and suggestions. You can share your what you have to say on our Facebook or Twitter. You can watch us live on astroawani.com or on our on your devices through our Astro Awani app. I'm Syabizan Johari. Thank you for watching. Good night.